Hi, this is Trey Pastor. I'm going to do a reaction to Mr. Nightmare. This is 4 disturbing true roommate horror stories. Sorry, that's the window. I said close. It's a little humid, so keep the window open. But anyway, I'm going to do a reaction to that, so I'll be right back. Okay, let me put my headphones in. Okay, here we go, right? Now, go. Roommate horror stories. Story 1.
When I was 22, I got a job in New York City. Living in Jersey, however, there was no way I'd be able to do that commute daily.
Okay.
So moving was a necessity.
Okay.
Only thing, I didn't have a lot of money yet. So when I saw an ad on Craigslist for an available bedroom in an apartment in the Hell's Kitchen area for a really low price, I jumped on it.
Oh.
I took a ride to the city the next day to view the apartment, and the landlord gave me a quick tour of the place. The landlord himself seemed a bit socially awkward, but that didn't really matter at all. The place did come with a catch. I'd have a roommate.
Okay.
The landlord said he's a very quiet, to himself kind of person, which he said was good. My roommate's name would be Bren.
Okay.
The landlord knocked on Bren's door, asking if he'd like to come out and say hello. Bren didn't even answer.
Jeez.
The landlord suggested he might be taking a nap. So we moved on to talking in the living room, where I said I was interested in renting. I signed an application, and the next day, the landlord called and offered me the room.
Okay.
So I moved in the next week. My dad helped me unload all my furniture into my little room. Something odd to note was that never once did this Bren character come out during all this commotion to at least say hi. He was definitely home. We heard him moving around in his room. I came to the early realization that he probably wasn't going to be friendly at all. When we finished unloading the van, my dad left and I was alone, officially moved out. I sat in my bed and started watching Netflix on my laptop. Then I heard the door to Bren's room open and close. This seemed like my chance to go out and say hi. It was his first time leaving his room. I got out of my bed, but before I could even get to my bedroom door, the front door to the apartment slammed shut.
Jeez.
I stepped outside to the living room, and no one was there. I didn't know what the deal with this Bren guy was, but surely he had to know we'd have to meet eventually.
Exactly.
I went back to my room, ate a bowl of ramen, and went to sleep. I woke up when I heard the front door to the apartment close again. Then footsteps followed. The footsteps on the creaky wood floor made their way to the outside of my door, then stopped.
Oh.
I sat up and looked at the crack below the door. The outlines of feet could be seen through the light creeping in under the door. Why was he just standing out there like a creep? Of course I didn't say anything. I just waited for him to walk away. I didn't have my door locked. I was low-key terrified of him entering my room. But thankfully, he walked away from my door and back to his room, and I heard him shut his door. I tried to go to sleep, but all night, all I heard were thumps coming from his room. I had no idea what he could possibly be doing. I was tempted to go knock on his door and tell him to keep it down, but I hadn't even met the guy yet, so I had to deal with it. Eventually, I fell asleep. And when I woke up in the morning, it seemed Bren was out already, maybe at work. I didn't know at the time. I spent most of that day shopping for groceries and basic apartment necessities. When I got back, I dropped all the bags on the couch in the living room to give myself a rest. I cooked dinner, watched some Netflix on the couch. All the while, Bren never came home. I did a quick run to the nearby 7-Eleven to get toothpaste, and when I got back, I noticed Bren's door was cracked open and the light was on. So I figured this was it. The moment for me to say hello. I went to his door, knocked lightly twice, then pushed the door open. What I found in there was shocking. Or maybe I should say what I didn't find in there. The room was completely empty.
What?
Not a single piece of furniture, except for a single chair sitting in the corner of the room. A kind of chair you'd find in a high school classroom. My heart suddenly started racing and I started to shake. I turned off the light in that room and shut the door. Could this Bren person have been in the process of moving out?
Could be.
I went to my room, locked the door, and sat on my bed, suddenly getting a really bad
Call the
headache.
landlord.
I took out my phone and decided to call the landlord to ask him what the hell was going on. After dialing his number, I put the phone to my ear and suddenly heard a loud ringing sound coming from my closet.
Oh my.
I felt like my heart, which was already
Oh,
racing,
Jesus.
was now in my stomach. The phone rang twice, then went to voicemail.
Oh,
I got out from the bed, ready to open the closet.
get a weapon.
But I stopped and realized that given that the phone rang twice, that means he had his phone and he declined the call.
Get a weapon.
I had the sick realization that the landlord was likely in my closet.
Get a weapon.
And there never even was a Bren. I ran to the bathroom, locked myself in, and called the cops.
Good point. Yeah.
They got to the apartment shortly and searched the whole apartment with me.
Okay.
Sure enough, we found the landlord hiding under my bed.
Oh,
I tried pressing charges for trespassing, trying to get myself out of the lease. But it turned out there never even was a lease.
what?
The dude wasn't even an actual landlord.
Oh,
He didn't even own the apartment.
oh, jeez.
I didn't get the rest of the story, like how he got the keys in the first place. I had my dad come the next day to help me move all my stuff back home.
Jesus.
I found another apartment the next week, and it was a huge hassle going through the whole moving process again. I knew from the start the so-called landlord gave off bad vibes. But who would have ever imagined the events that were about to take place?
Yeah, he might have killed you. He was hiding in your closet. You lucky. Story number 2.
There was an ad on Zillow for a shared apartment near the chicken farm I worked
Okay.
at. I moved in because it was convenient and already furnished. I just dropped off my clothes and a mini dresser, and I already had a bed to sleep in the spare room. The man who was renting the room out to me was old. He was like 70 or something, and his name was Ben. It was a non-contractual agreement, meaning I'd pay him by the week, but he was more or less still a roommate. He was very old-fashioned, and that included everything in the house. I've never exactly come from a wealthy family, so trust me when I say this was a steal for me. One night after getting home from a long day of work, I collapsed into bed and fell asleep like a baby. But suddenly, I awoke to the bedroom door opening.
What the?
Light poured into the room from the hallway, and standing in the doorway was the old man, Ben, with his hand on the doorknob.
What?
He said in his deep, hoarse voice, "Stay out of the basement." He said he knew I went down
What?
there. I defended myself and assured him I didn't, because I actually didn't. He shut the door, and I heard him walk downstairs.
Oh boy.
I sat there thinking this guy must be unstable or something. The next day, I was off from work. Ben took his old jalopy down the road. I'm guessing to the store. While I was alone, I stared at the basement door. I knew it was the basement door because I'd seen him go down there before. I went to open it just to peek downstairs, but obviously it was pitch black down there. I would have never been compelled to go down there if it weren't for his bizarre remark about not going down there. But I figured he wasn't going to be home anytime soon, so I continued down.
Get a weapon.
I found the light switch at the bottom step for some reason. It was for the most part a normal basement so far, but there was a door in the corner. Behind that door was something unimaginable.
Get a weapon.
The door was very hard to open because there was some rubber concealer under the door. I'm guessing to keep that awful smell out of the rest of the basement and house. The inside of this little room was a nightmare. Blood stains on the concrete floor. Black bags stacked in the corner of the room, stretched long enough to be carrying bodies or body parts. And the smell of rotting life. I had to refrain from puking right there. I noticed a camera hung in the top right corner of the room, aimed down at some workbench. I took a quick picture of the room and hurried out.
The hell out of here. Call the cops.
I went up to the spare bedroom, packed all of my clothes in a garbage bag, and heard the front door slam shut downstairs.
Jump out the window.
He was
Jump
back.
out the window.
I played it cool and greeted him from the upstairs hallway. He didn't respond. I heard him open the basement door and stomp downstairs.
Time to go.
I saw that as my cue to sprint to my
Time
car.
to go.
I made it to my car and without looking back, drove away from there. I drove 15 miles back to my brother's farm and showed him the picture.
The cops.
He said I was an idiot for not calling the sheriff sooner. So I called 911 and told them to bring a search warrant to Ben's address and check the basement before he could clear it out. I made it clear I was simply his temporary roommate or tenant living with him and came across it. A few hours later, someone from the sheriff's department came to my brother's farm asking for my ID and some other information.
Okay.
I complied with them. They gave me the relieving news that Ben had been arrested.
Okay.
He was in the process of clearing any evidence from his basement, but he wasn't quick
Good.
enough. The deputies didn't go into much detail about what exactly they found in those bags or anything else, but I don't think they were allowed to. They thanked me and went on their way. My brother let me stay with him for a few weeks, till I was ready to get back out there and find another apartment.
Jesus. Came upon a serial killer. Gee. Story number 3.
I'm not sure how many of you went to college, but for those of you who
Okay.
did, you most likely remember that feeling of walking into your dorm for the first time, meeting your roommate, the person you're supposed to ideally be friends with for the next 4 years.
Yep.
I certainly remember mine. I walked into my dorm for the first time, and there was my roommate. He had fair skin, black hair, glasses, and a slightly feminine tone in his voice. There was nothing wrong with any of that, but to me, he just immediately struck me as the gaming type,
Okay.
which was not exactly someone who I was going to vibe with easily. From the moment I shook his hand and he gave me a dead fish handshake, I was a little put
Dead
off.
fish.
I'll call him John for the purpose of this
Okay.
story. I left the room to go say hi to the other kids on the floor and meet as many people as possible.
Okay.
I instantly vibed with some of the other kids more than I did with John. Anyway, that first night consisted of a lot of unpacking and hanging around in the room. So I did try to get to know John a
Okay.
little bit. It wasn't that he was a mean person, it was just he didn't seem to really know how to converse.
Okay.
I would ask him questions about himself, and he'd give me one-word responses,
Jesus.
or responses that barely even made sense. He even went to bed really early, shutting off his lamp at like 10 o'clock. No one had classes the next day, so I just found it odd. I put headphones in and watched videos on my phone until around 12.
Okay.
Then I went to sleep. The next morning, a few of the guys on my floor and I went to the dining hall together. When I got back to my room, I noticed my duffel bag was moving.
Oh.
I looked at John, who was sitting on his bed. Then went to go through my bag to see if anything was missing. I couldn't find what it was, but my bag just seemed lighter.
Oh.
I straight up accused John of going through my bag, and he denied it with a very aggressive tone. What could I do, though? I didn't have cameras in the room, so I couldn't prove it. The next night, I tried inviting John out with me and a couple of the other kids from the floor. He didn't want to go, claiming he was trying to stay on top of his work as soon as possible.
Okay.
So I went out, and when I got back, John was fast asleep. It was kind of late, so I just went straight to bed,
Okay.
too. It started to rain pretty heavy outside. A storm was in the forecast. I woke up in the middle of the night hearing thunder crashing. I was too comfortable and lazy to roll over and look outside. But even with my eyes closed, I was noticing the constant flashing from the lightning. If anything, it actually helped put me back to sleep. The next morning, I woke up, and my backpack was open and moving.
Oh.
I didn't accuse John this time. I decided I was going to stay up that night and wait, listen to what he was
Okay.
doing. So, after a long rainy day, night came, as did the time for me to hit the hay. I stayed on my phone for a long time, listening to the rain outside the window. Around 1 or 2 a.m., I flipped on my side and pretended to be asleep. I did this for a long time, and eventually I started noticing the flashes again. 2 or 3, actually. I turned to my other side and saw John sitting upright in his bed. I only caught a glimpse of him quickly putting down his arms as I flipped over. Suddenly all those flashes made
Camera?
sense. It wasn't lightning. It was him taking pictures of me.
Jesus.
I played dumb and said, "What are you doing?" He stuttered and said he couldn't sleep. The next day I told the other kids on the floor about it and how weird John was overall. They said I should request a room change. I agreed with them. At whatever point I went back to the room, John was actually gone for once. I couldn't believe it. His laptop was also on his bed with the lid cracked open.
Okay.
I had to snoop. I was too
Of
curious.
course.
I opened the laptop, and I was on John's desktop, which was littered full of folders, programs, and images.
Okay.
It was the messiest desktop I've ever seen. I started opening the random pictures on his desktop. Most of them were weird, but then I got to the disturbing ones. Pictures of me.
Ugh.
Upon opening one of them, I realized it was a picture of me in bed, taken with an iPhone with a flash. He had stored all the pictures he'd taken of me on his computer.
Jesus.
He even had pictures of my duffel bag and the inside of my backpack. I took a video of the laptop screen, then deleted every picture I could find from his computer and closed his laptop. I went straight to the hall that dealt with dorm life and showed them the video. I requested a new roommate immediately. I don't know how John was disciplined by the school, but I was going to be given a new room across campus the next day. However, on my last night with John, I couldn't sleep at all. I heard the springs under his mattress kinking as he got up from his bed at some odd hour in the night. Then silence. Silence until I heard a short, quiet exhale come from right above my bed. He was standing over my bed. I just knew it. But I was just simply too afraid to turn around. Less than a minute later, I heard the springs under his mattress again, and the rest of the night was silence. I was out first thing in the morning.
Jeez.
My new roommate was like a breath of fresh air, a normal guy. It's a little creepy knowing that John Kid still has all those pictures of me sleeping on his phone. I don't know what his goal with those pictures were. I don't know why he just stood over my bed like that the last night I was there.
Maybe he's obsessed with you.
I don't know why he went through my bags. The kid was an insane creep, and I'm happy I got away from him.
He could have been in love with you, had a crush on you and stuff. But then that's a little bit extreme, what he did. Story number 4.
When I moved out from home, my dad's friend Kathy was subletting her apartment with 2 bedrooms. She said she'd give me a good deal. However, I'd have to share it with some older woman she found. She was tight on money, so I understood. Kathy introduced the woman and I the day I moved in. Her name was Betty. She was like 60 years old. It felt weird knowing I'd have a roommate who could almost be my grandma. Since Kathy was subletting the apartment, it already had furniture. I just had to bring my own bed and dresser. The weirdness started on the second night. I was watching TV in the living room when Betty's head appeared from behind the wall to the hallway, and she stared at me intently. She started muttering these strange, faint noises.
Oh, God.
Betty, you okay? I asked. She groaned and disappeared back into the hallway.
Jesus.
I immediately got on the phone with Kathy and asked if there was something wrong with Betty. Kathy said there was nothing wrong with her as far as she knew, though she only met her a week ago. When I told her about what Kathy just did, she was surprised. The next day I ran into Kathy cooking eggs in the kitchen. She said good morning, and I asked her if she was okay last night. She seemed confused what I was referring to, and I mentioned the way she was staring at me and making those noises. She claimed she had no recollection of it. All I could chalk it up to in my head was some kind of psychotic break. Fast forwarding through normal, unnecessary fluff, I was laying in my bed on my laptop with the light off. There was a knock at my bedroom door. I muted my laptop and heard the same moaning and groaning sounds of Betty from the night before. Quite frankly, I was uncomfortable with going out there, but this confirmed that something was definitely wrong with this woman.
Not taking a medicine.
She kept knocking. It wouldn't stop. But the door was unlocked. If something was really wrong, I figured she'd come in. I really think the knocking and moaning went on for a full minute before I heard her walk away. It seemed these little episodes of hers would only happen at night. I almost wanted to be able to lock the door because it was kind of creepy, actually. But the door had no lock. But she left, so I was okay to go to sleep.
Put something up against the door.
I woke up expecting it to be like 9 a.m., but it was pitch black. I looked at my clock, and it was 1:30 a.m. What I was woken up by became clear when there was a creak in the floor in the room. I saw a figure standing at the edge of my bed in the dark. Becky? I said. I heard the familiar groaning sounds again. I flipped on the lamp next to my bed, and there she was. This 60-something-year-old woman, with her long graying hair all disheveled, looking like a half-awake psycho. But really, the first thing I noticed was the large knife in her hand. I screamed a horrific scream as I curled up in the corner of my bed, expecting her to attack or do something. But but she just kept making her strange sounds.
Jesus.
Then she left the room. I ran to shut the door and block it with the dresser. I tried calling Kathy, but she was obviously asleep. I had to make it through the night, and it was a long 6 hours before the sun came up. I called Kathy at 8 and explained everything, and then I told her she needed to evict Betty immediately.
Yeah, she's psycho.
She couldn't believe it, but she still apologized and said she'd be over that day. Kathy came to speak to Betty. She couldn't just evict her right away without a notice, though, and the eviction process takes months. So Kathy told me it was best if I just left the apartment and found somewhere else to live while she dealt with Betty. Betty apologized and said she had no recollection of any of this stuff happening. After Kathy and I did some research, we determined Betty most likely had a severe case of sundowning syndrome, which causes people to become confused or aggressive late in the day when the sun goes down. It's really terrifying knowing in whatever confused state of mind she was in, she likely had the intention of coming into my room and stabbing me for whatever reason.
Could have come in and killed you. Yeah. You're lucky. You're lucky she didn't follow through. Especially when you're sleeping. She could have started stabbing you in your sleep. Okay, those stories were interesting to say the least. That last one was kind of creepy. You know, old lady. Maybe you've seen too many horror movies. Old ladies with sleep. I wonder if she had kind of not sundown or sleepwalking thing. But even she's a sleepwalker. She had a knife the last time. Come on, she's right by your bed. Okay, that's creepy 101. Like they should, yeah, she did the right thing, move it out. But they made contact with her family and see, excuse me, if she has some kind of obviously some kind of psychotic break, or maybe she has a sleepwalking thing or something. Sundowning. I never heard of that before, but I guess it's possible. Now the first story with the creepy, come on, the creepy guy, the landlord that has actually, he told you that he actually made up a thing that there was another roommate. There was actually a guy in the room when there was not one, and it was actually him, and he was basically, and then for him to hide in your closet, he was gonna probably kill you or something, because why else would he rent the room to you and then then he's hiding in the closet? I mean, wouldn't he think eventually you would find out exactly? Like, suppose you got up faster and when you heard him stomping out and you caught him. So I don't know what the grand plan was maybe it was to get you. Maybe he saw you and then he liked you and then he said, oh, you're a good victim or something. And then he said, okay, I'll rent the room to him and then I'll wait a couple of days and I'll act weird so he doesn't see me and then pretend to be this other roommate. And then hiding in your closet, obviously he was waiting for you. His only mistake was that he kept his phone with him, obviously. So you knew that it was him in the closet, which actually him being dumb probably saved your life. Okay, and then the second story with the guy, come on, the guy, 70-year-old serial killer. Well, exactly, you moved in with a serial killer. That's plain as day. You're pretty lucky that exactly when he accused you of going in the basement when you didn't. Okay, he could have turned on you right then and there, but luckily, and luckily you went down there, because suppose you didn't go down there, you just said, all right, this guy's acting weird, and you just went past that, and then eventually maybe you could have been in one of those black bags in the basement. Exactly. This is sound like this guy was a serial killer. Okay, that's just disturbing in every kind of way. And then the third story with the guy with the roommate, taking pictures of you and stuff. Like I said, there's no wrong with him being gay and stuff. He could have had a crush on you or whatever, but him taking pictures of you while you're sleeping, okay, and all that stuff, and taking pictures of your bag and stuff, that's super duper creepy. Exactly. And you did the right thing moving out. Although I don't know why you stayed in there after that. I would have slept in the lounge or so whatever until I got out. I would have never slept in there one more night. Okay. If I had to stay awake in the dorm or in the TV room or whatever until the morning, until after, I would have done that. I would have never, after I found those pictures, no way in the world I would have went to sleep in that room with him. Okay, and you see him standing over your bed. You can see it. You can feel him standing over your bed, breathing and stuff. You don't know what his intentions is. Suppose he could have attacked you right then and there. Okay, like I said, maybe he was gay and he had a crush on you or something, but he obviously took it to an extreme, taking pictures of you and stuff. That's just, and come on, that's just super creepy. And standing over you, come on, taking pictures of you when you're sleeping. Okay, that's That's stalker Terry. And like I say, you did it, but like I said, I don't know how you went to sleep in that room after you found those pictures. I would have said, you know what? I want a new room. Okay, I want a new roommate, and I'm not sleeping in that room tonight. I would have told those dorm guys, listen, I'll sleep in the common area, wherever it is, where they have the TV or whatever. I'll sleep in there rather than I'm not sleeping nowhere in the world. I'm sleeping in that room with this dude who I know is taking pictures of me when I'm sleeping and stuff. I don't know what his intentions is. I'm not gonna get possibly molested by him or murdered by him. Exactly, because obviously he has issues. He's taking a picture of you while you're sleeping and stuff. That's just super creepy. And then of course the last story with the old woman. Come on, like I said, she probably had mental. She might have had mental issues and stuff. Could have been sleepwalking and stuff. But when you saw her with that knife, come on, that's just come on. That just because I know at first you probably maybe feel sympathetic towards her because she has you figure she's an older woman and she's but when she showed up at the edge of your bed with a big knife, oh, come on, that's time to put her in the mental institution because obviously she has issues, okay, and she needs to be closely monitored, okay, and seek help because suppose she would have stabbed you, she could have killed you while you were sleeping. This is lucky you just woke up and you found her, okay, found her at the edge of your bed and she didn't move further, okay. Suppose you're just lucky she just didn't attack you, okay. So those are truly creepy story. I just think I know. I'm trying to think of the serial killer one is the worst because you moved in with a serial killer, okay, and heaven forbid if he, like I said, he thought you went into the basement when you didn't, and suppose he would have, he could have added you to his collection, okay. Who knows if those bodies in the room in the basement were other roommates that he got, okay. So it could have been your turn, exactly. Luckily, again, that you went down there and you peeked. Okay, and you found, although I don't went down there with a weapon. I would have went down there just to look. I'd have went down there with a bat or something. There's no way in the world I'm going down there on my own and stuff. Because what else? Suppose he had somebody tied up in there or something. Go down there with a weapon if you're going to do that. Or just I would have called the cops. If you think the guy, well, actually you couldn't call the cops if you suspect he's creepy. But when you went down there, okay, you should have, like your brother said, you should have called the cops immediately once you found those bags. I would have went upstairs, called the cops, and jumped out the window and ran to my car and got the hell out of there. Okay, so I'm trying to think of the stories. The first story is super creepy. We do with the landlord pretending that he has a roommate and then he's hiding in your closet. That's creepy. That's super creepy. All those stories are really good. I'm trying to rank them. I think they're all creepy, but I guess the serial killer has to be the top one because you could have been victim, and then the landlord, I think, pretending to that he had a roommate in there just to get you in there. So I think that would be second, and then I think the roommate standing over your bed and taking pictures of you on his computer, having them on your computer. I guess that would be three, and then the old lady is four because the old lady. I mean, she's old, I guess, even though she had a knife the last time. But at least her, you could possibly overpower her. Okay, so I would definitely think serial killer first. The second story, which could have been another potential serial killer, okay, him hiding in your freaking closet when you're calling, I would have probably, my heart would have probably went through my chest when I dial the landlord, and then you hear the phone ringing from the closet. I said, this mother is in the closet. He's in the closet. I think I would have pushed a bureau door, something to keep that door locked, and then call the cops. So that way, this dude is crazy. Okay, he's pretending to be a roommate, and he's hiding in my closet. Come on. So I guess that would be the serial killer, the first. So I guess it'd be the second story. Yeah, second story, then the first story, then the third story, and then the fourth story. That's how I guess I would rank them. Anyway, let me know what you think of those stories and how would you rank those in terms of super creepiness. I think they were all pretty good. That's a really good thing. Anyway, I'll leave a link to Mr. Nightmare's channel in the description box. You can check him out. He's a great fellow YouTuber. I love the way he spins a story and sets the mood and everything. He's perfect. His voice is super creepy and it's perfect for this. And I'll have a link to my social media in the description box, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I also have a link to my other channel, Paul's Views and Opinions. Please check that out as well. And this is Trey Pastor saying so long and take care.